How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
My fellow Americans, it's Eric Erickson here. The D.C. pipe bombing suspect Brian Cole Jr. had a secret online life, obsessing over My Little Pony. Yep, it's a headline in the New York Post. He was a My Little Pony obsessive, which there is a tie-in here on autism, and some of these people who are radicalizing online are autistic, some in various degrees, and they're radicalizing online. And yeah, parents, keep your kids off social media. You know, Australia is banning social media for people under 16. Might not be a bad idea. We'll see. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. It is Eric Erickson here. I'm going to talk about, dare I do it, Brigitte Macron, who is a woman, who is the First Lady of France. She has been defamed by Candace Owens, and I hope that the Macron family wins their lawsuit against Candace Owens and takes every penny that insane person has. Her conduct, Candace Owens' conduct, has been shameful, absolutely shameful. Brigitte Macron is under fire for calling feminist activists stupid B-words. That's right. She sparked outrage after calling feminist protesters, well, I'm not going to say what she said, but she smeared feminist protesters backstage at a comedy show. In a since-deleted clip published by gossip outlet Public, Brigitte Macron is seen asking comedian Ari Abatin before his performance how he's doing, to which the former responds that he is afraid, likely referencing the possibility of protesters interrupting the show. Abatin is on his first tour since investigating judges decided not to charge him with a crime after he was accused of rape. While the plaintiff was found to have suffered post-traumatic stress, justice officials said they could not establish sufficient grounds to determine that the sexual encounter had actually been forced. Abatin denied wrongdoing and said the act was consensual. After saying he was afraid, the French lady responded, "If there are stupid B words, we'll toss them out." Abatin's return was protested by the feminist group Nutu, whose members disrupted the show to denounce what they called a communication campaign aimed at portraying him as a traumatized person while humiliating and belittling the victim. Macron's office said the remarks should be understood as criticism of the radical methods used by those who disrupted and obstructed Ari Abatin's show. Condemnation came from political figures across party lines, along with activists and industry officials. Now, I got to tell you, this makes me like Brigitte Macron even more. The number of aggravating protesters out there that, listen, I don't know anything about this comedian. I don't know anything about him. He was not charged with a crime. The investigation said they couldn't determine that it was forced. It appeared to be consensual. And she shows up. She wants a good laugh. And we have taken the joy out of the world. Well, we haven't. Some people have. You know, I did that. By the way, we're going to put off, I was going to do in January another Not Safe for Radio show. We decided to put it off for a while because we were having some trouble getting everything locked in with the venue. So we're going to put it off a little while, but we're going to do another one. I told a joke on stage. We confiscated all the cameras and recording devices. I told a joke. To this day, I have given my team PTSD for telling the joke, which I am about to tell to you on live radio. They were rather horrified. If you get it wrong, your career is over. Hopefully I won't get it wrong. I was talking about racial progress in the South and how there are malcontented souls to this day who insist that this nation is as racist as ever, if not more racist. And in fact, in my experience and the experience of my friends and family, and including those in the black community, we're actually far better off than we were years ago. We've had a black president. We've had a black vice president. We've had real progress in this country. In my grandparents' era, we referred to people as coloreds. Colored this, colored that. My great-grandparents would have used the N-word. My grandparents colors this, colors this. My parents' generation, the blacks this, the blacks that. My generation, in my household, we use the N-word. Neighbor. Real progress. Real progress in this country. I live in a very diverse community. My neighbors we've got a vacant lot, and on the other side of the vacant lot is a black family. Across from them is an Indian family. There's Korean families. There's a Chinese family immigrated to the country. Really anti-communist, great people. White families, black families, everybody living together. And you know what? My team was like, just even saying the N-word, which in this case for the joke was neighbor, could get people upset. Had to take people's phones away. Dave Chappelle does events now. He takes people's phones away. It's not just making sure that people enjoy the show. It's also denying people the ability to edit up his jokes and cause controversy where there's no controversy. We got a lot of humorless people out there. And part of the problem, too, is that the loud voices, they can't understand. If they don't find it funny, you are not allowed to find it funny. I understand sensitivities of parents who have mentally disabled kids and they don't like people using the R word. There's a big story out the other day that the F word, no, not that one, the gay slur is coming back. People are rebelling now against the people who say you can't say these words. They're all coming back. The R word, the other F word. And yet you got these humorless people out there who you can't make that joke. That joke's not funny. I'm going to give you an example. Side note. Have a live chat that goes on with my team. They have no idea where this is going. And this one's not going to sit well with some of you. My son turned 17 today. Told me a joke the other day some of you are not going to find funny, and that's the point of me telling you this joke. He framed it as a physics joke. Maybe I shouldn't tell you this one. Maybe I shouldn't. The point is, it's actually a very funny joke, but some of you will get offended, and because you get offended, you've decided that I can't tell the joke or I should get in trouble for telling a joke you didn't like. And that's why I appreciate Brigitte Macron and her outrage over these feminists who show up and decide we're going to protest. We're going to disrupt someone's ability to tell jokes because we don't like that person or we don't like the joke. My son's joke, his physics joke was, what gets easier to pick up the heavier it gets? A woman. I know. Some of you will be offended by it. He's a 16-year-old boy. He thought it was funny. The point of the joke is not the punchline. The point of the joke is, in normal social times, before we all got mentally unhealthy on social media, people could tell the joke. Some people would roll their eyes. Some people would laugh. You'd move on about your life. Nowadays, you can't tell the joke because some humorless person out there who probably has a PhD is deeply offended at the joke, and therefore you're not allowed to tell the joke. You're not allowed to tell it because it offended that one person. The problem is pretty much every joke out there offends someone. And the point is, it's a joke. It's not real. You don't mean it. And yet we're in a situation in the world today where the humorless people try to hold everyone else captive to their lack of humor, or the fact that they themselves in particular do not find this particular joke funny, therefore you're not allowed to laugh. We actually need more laughter in the world. We have a lot of angry people on social media. When they're not upset about Donald Trump or the Democrats, they're upset about the college football playoffs. I don't know how James Madison and Tulane got in. I personally think Notre Dame and BYU should have gotten in, but I didn't make the call. What I know is there's no right answer, and people are screaming about all these things. I don't really want to watch a Tulane or a James Madison game. I would watch a Notre Dame game. BYU, I would watch them. They've been great. At least we're arguing over the 12th best team, not the second best team like we used to do in the BCS days. But still, people are really angry about that. Everyone wants to be angry about something. The First Lady of France, who has a lot to be angry about because Candace Owens went to hear a comedian and was upset that the comedian on stage telling jokes could be protested by a bunch of feminists who were upset he wasn't charged with a crime that he couldn't determine there was sufficient evidence to charge him with. And she referred to them as stupid B words, saying we'll toss them out if they try to protest you. Good for her. I think I like this French First Lady. She showed up to hear a controversial comedian, unashamed to hear a controversial. You know, there are a lot of controversial comedians out there. They say things that get people upset. Look at Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis was hired and fired by Saturday Night Live, and now they beg him to come on the show. Because he and Nate Bargatze are about the only times they get real laughs on Saturday Night Live anymore. You get Shane Gillis on, they tell jokes. Everybody finds the jokes funny except the humorless people. They tell race jokes when Shane Gillis is on, and everybody finds them funny except the uppity white people on MSNBC who are horrified that you would tell a racial joke in 21st century America when even the black people in the joke found it very funny. Progressives lost their sense of humor, but there are people on the right who've lost their sense of humor too. You're not allowed to joke about that. You can't make a joke about Donald Trump, even though there are a lot of jokes you can make about him that are funny. You can't. You can't make jokes on the far right or the far left, and the rest of us are being held hostage, and what we need to do is laugh more and be able to tell jokes. So good for the First Lady of France for going to a comedian show and laughing at his jokes and deriding the humorless people, because let's be honest here. The feminists in their comfortable shoes are the least funny people on the planet. And they happen to be the most angry. And you can hear them off in the distance right now. That's not funny. Actually, it is. Welcome back. I wanted to go to break early because I wanted to take this next phone call from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Carrie's been waiting patiently. Welcome to the show, Carrie. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
What's going on?
To you almost every day on
Thank you.
740 out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, actually.
Excellent. Good to know.
Yeah. So, you were talking about before the break, women not wanting to have children and so forth, white progressive women. I've got a daughter, my only child, raised her the right way as best I could, me and her mom. She is woke as you could possibly imagine. She's cohabitated with 4 men. She's 35, 36 years old now. And she recently had her tubes burned. And that's where she stands on the thing. She's in the corporate world and all that. But I'll never have grandchildren that are my blood.
Gosh.
And, it kind of breaks my heart. And but I just wanted to say that we really do need to push that. I know Elon Musk, I'm not sure he's going about it the right way.
Yeah.
Having children by 7 different women or something. But anyway, and the last thing I wanted to say was I wanted to use the scripture kind of to transfer a little bit. I think it would fit right in. Jesus said, anyone who tries to hoard their life for themselves will lose it. Anyone who gives up their life for my sake. And I think the transference could be made if you give up your life for others, especially your family, you will find your life.
Yeah, I
And
think
I
that's
found
well
that to
said.
be true in raising my kid. You know, I love her to death, and I have prayed for her every day, and I've got people and friends and family praying for her all the time that she'll, you know, not be so woke. But, man.
Yeah, and all you can do is love them. It's
Right.
loving your kids, and you know, I hate it for you, and the joy you have in grandkids is something you look forward to be able to spoil the grandkids, to get back at your own kids.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much. My best to you and your family for Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. But yeah, I don't know. There is selfish the right word? And there's neuroses now among so many people. And, you know, so I had a friend of mine who's a psychologist the other day who said if you actually listen to a lot of the rhetoric now coming from younger women who don't want to have kids, that one of the tie-ins is they have adopted causes, and those causes are their children. And so they can't bring another child into the world because they have causes. Whether it's environmentalism or social justice movements or what, they've adopted these causes as their children, and a real child would interfere with their ability to take care of their cause. And it's a very interesting observation and also kind of tragic, where it's not just the social obligation of perpetuating the species. It actually, boy, you find so much more meaning in life having kids. And there are those who can't. There are those who would kill for the opportunity to have a child and can't. And then there are so many who so willingly give up the opportunity. It's just sad. You know, Hillsdale College actually has a class on ethics and how ethics tie into these worldviews and Aristotle's ethics, among other things. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com, you can sign up for it. You can go pick one of 40 classes to choose from, and you get smarter. You find a class from Hillsdale, and you get smarter about a topic you're interested in. It's education, it's not indoctrination. From their great faculty, their video lectures, 30 minutes. You do it at your own pace. Depends on the class, depends on the number of 30-minute episodes. And you just find a topic you're interested in and you get smarter. Whether it's about American history, ancient history, literature, philosophy, political science, economics, chemistry, math, they're all there. You don't have to pay a penny for it either. So you just get smarter every day from Hillsdale College. Go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today. Sign up with Hillsdale College. Find that topic you're interested in and get smarter. ericforhillsdale.com. When we come back, more of your phone calls at 877-973-7425. And the world continues on as these crazy news cycles develop. We've got more, including on the National Defense Authorization Act and Congress subtly restraining the Trump administration. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. Please remember to text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Click that top link and subscribe to the show notes. And reminder, the annual Christmas show comes out Christmas Eve, and you'll be able to get access to a lot of it if you are a subscriber to the show notes. It is the high-demand show. I get requests every year to interview different pastors and the like, and I've fallen behind, frankly, on getting the interview scheduled this year, but I'm getting everything locked in to be able to make it happen. Again, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Let me go to John. Welcome to the show, John. How are you?
Hello, Eric. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I wanted to talk about larger families and things that can be done for that. I'm actually in the car pickup line for my son right now. Your show has been lulling my kids to sleep every time we go to pick up my son from school. So, but one of the things I wanted to voice, we actually just purchased our first home recently, And some perspective I have as a younger father is that there's a lot of younger people that are kind of, especially conservatives, that are holding on to the goal of having a home, an actual house that they own and a mortgage before they go to having kids. And that's really not feasible in today's world and economy. So as long as, if you're a young person listening and you have and you're happily married and you have a situation that works, whether you're in an apartment, on military housing, whatever, go ahead and make that leap if you do want kids. The housing market will keep doing its ups and downs, and eventually you'll get into that mortgage as long as you're financially responsible. But there are a lot of things that can be done to kind of fix the cost of houses, and I appreciate that you're one of the few people talking about how there's a lot of NIMBYs, both across the political spectrum, that are kind of keeping houses expensive and home regulations expensive.
Well, look, so John, first of all, I appreciate the phone call and my apologies to your kids that my dulcet tones are entertaining them every day. But it's well said. And you know, one of the things I have discovered is I've got a group of friends of mine who are young and married and thinking about having kids. And I am trying to, as best I can to a degree, I guess, for lack of a better word, minister to them that you do not have to have all of your ducks in a row before you have kids. And that if you wait, you may never actually get to have kids. If you are waiting, you got to have so much money in the bank. You got to have this debt paid off. You got to have this size yard. You got to have this size house. You're never gonna have kids. Kids are a real miracle, and they're a blessing. And if you design in your head the perfect life you must have before you have kids, you're probably never going to have kids, or you're going to wait too long. John's absolutely right that you may not be able to get the house today, but maybe we'll be tomorrow. And ironically, and this is so counterintuitive, it's so counterintuitive. Do you know that the people who have the highest rate of increase in earnings over time is married men with kids? Now, some of you will look at this and say it's sexist, but actually what the data shows is that oftentimes a lot of women decide they want to scale back and stay home with the kids, and the men wind up working harder to bring in more money, and it reflects in pay raises, job stability, marital stability, and larger families. It's just completely counterintuitive because you think, I can't do it, we can't afford the next kid. My wife and I wish we had another. So our son turned 17 today. He's a junior in high school. He's got one more year. Today is his birthday, and he's in bed sick. Was running fever last night still, had a sinus infection. We thought it really, he has gotten the flu several times and has never tested positive for the flu until it was almost over. And he hadn't felt good. And we're thinking you might have one of those flu strains. He never gets strong cases. He always gets the flu shot. And if he gets it, gets mild cases. And he just doesn't feel good. And he's in 11th grade. We got another year in the house with him. And then we're like, wish we had one more. And I've got friends of mine who they've got two kids. Like, we're done. And I prod them a little bit and say, are you really sure? Because you're going through that rough phase right now where you're not getting any sleep. But at some point, they're going to be graduating and heading off. And I don't know. I love both my kids. I really do, y'all. And although my daughter sitting at the kitchen table last night. Okay, first of all, in the TMI vein, y'all, when I get hungry, I become a raging a-hole. I need you to know that when I travel, my assistant actually puts on the schedule of those who travel with me to remind me to eat, because I am the most calm, don't get worked up about much person on planet Earth until I get hungry. And I have been this way since I was a wee child. I become the meanest, most awful person in your circle of friends when I get hungry. And I don't mean to. And as I've gotten older, I'm more mindful of that fact, and I try to rein it in, but I get really impatient and get really snippy. And last night, I hadn't had anything to eat. In fact, I'm doing a replay today. I haven't had anything to eat yet today. I had a protein shake this morning. That's it. I've been living off of coffee and water all day. Haven't had anything to eat. My schedule, I normally what I like to do is I get in, I have meetings at 11 o'clock. I go out and get something to eat, and I eat before the show so then I can go to the gym. And today I had phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call. It was 11:20. It's like, it's too late. I don't have time. I can't go eat now. I have had to address all of these concerns. I got home last night. It was the same situation yesterday. I got home last night, and in my family, I don't know about your family, but we do the, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Food? What sort of food? The type of food that you eat? What sort of food that you eat? I don't know. The type of food that you get at a restaurant. What restaurant? I don't know. On for an hour and a half, and I am hangry. I finally went and got myself food and made everyone else starve. Tonight it'll be a replay of it. And while I'm sitting there trying to eat, my daughter could not be quiet. She just had to tell a story. And the story went on and on and on and on and on and on and on about her encounter with a guy at a Barnes & Noble. And I finally looked at her, does this story ever end? I love my kids, except when I'm hangry. Oh, my gosh. That was obviously way too much information that y'all did not need to know. All of this is to say, I love my kids. I wish we had another one. At some point, we'd have to cut it off, though, anyway, and they'd all grow up and move out of the house. And it's going to be sad when at least my daughter is at college locally. We'll miss my son going off to Sanford. He'll be 3 hours from us. Assuming he gets in, he better get in. I don't know what his backup plan is. But just don't wait. I know so many people who want to wait and they want to plan the perfect life. You know, when I worked for a law firm, they wanted us to have a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan, where your 1-year plan played into your 3-year plan, played into your 5-year plan, played into your 10-year plan, and they'd sit down with you and try to discuss and shape how is your plan working out and what is your plan to get to the next step in your career. And they'd have these discussions, and I was like, I'm going wherever God leads. I don't have a plan. I didn't last in law. I'm glad. Fell into radio. Now I want like a bajillion stations. I want 600-700 stations. We're getting close to 100. We're not there yet. I don't really have a plan, though. It's wherever God leads. That's kind of my view on life. And I wish more people had that view. Even the people who don't believe in God just have this view that wherever life takes me, maybe it'll take you to church. But when you sit down and you map out this plan, life is full of surprises. It really is. Life is always full of surprises. We did not expect my wife to get diagnosed with lung cancer. You know, my wife had a mastectomy right after we got married. She had a double mastectomy. It was prophylactic because her family has a very large history of breast cancer. And they tested my wife for the breast cancer genes, and she tested negative. And their conclusion was that there's probably a breast cancer gene mutation that we don't know about that your family has. But given the history of breast cancer in your family, yes, you should have the prophylactic mastectomy. So she did. Fast forward, she gets lung cancer. They've got updated genetic tests now. They do more genetic tests on her a few years ago. They're like, surprise, you never had a gene mutation for breast cancer. You had the gene mutation for lung cancer that also ran in the family. Like, well, we know that now, but you can't actually get rid of lungs, so she's stuck with the lungs she has. Life throws curveballs. You cannot plan for the curveballs. This is why I think people who go to church statistically are happier. The people who have a faith obligation, a faith commitment, whether it's Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, but particularly Christians, tend to have happier outlooks on life and live longer through adversity because they think, well, God's got a plan. This is part of his plan. Let's see where he goes. He'll surprise me. And let me tell you, as someone who believes that, he keeps surprising me with where I wind up. You've just got to go with it. Be flexible. Roll with it. Don't have some master plan for your life because the universe has a sense of humor and will laugh at your master plan. But you should weave into whatever plan you have to have kids if you're married because they'll make you happier. They're a constant source of worry and frustration and debt, and also joy and entertainment and contentment. You were meant to. Don't knock it. Carl, I'm going to go to you next. Welcome to the show, Carl. How are you?
Hey, Eric. How you doing this afternoon?
Good.
Good. Hey, look, my comment was this, and one, I appreciate you taking my call. I worked in the technical college system for a while, and you had a report, I believe it was last week, about kids coming into the programs unprepared. And I witnessed the fact that we had people graduating at seniors that couldn't even spell their own name, couldn't sign anything, had no steady habits. And it took a while to get them up to the adult learning phase. And I want to echo what you're saying. There's never a good time to have kids. And matter of fact, we're expecting our first grandchild, and we're very excited about it. And my son is all worried, and I said, don't worry about it. Things will work out. But my comment here is, I'm wondering if how we're educating our kids and the way they're being presented to is not having an impact on how they feel about having families and kids. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. Look, I absolutely think, particularly in public schools these days, you got so much more indoctrination and education about life. They've given up on teaching kids get out of high school. Many of the kids who are getting out of high school know they're not up to the job. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He's a principal at a school, and he had left the public school system for a private school system. He said one of the reasons he left the public school system is that his school was constantly churning out graduates who had deep simmering resentment because they just flat out knew that they couldn't read the way they needed to read. They didn't have the math skills, and the kids knew it. And it was impacting their whole lives. And he took a big pay cut and joined a private school and said that the school is much more committed to outcomes-oriented education. Kids don't just get socially promoted to the next grade. They got to be able to cut it. They got to be able to perform, and the kids are ready for college. There actually is a study out there. I saw it somewhere. I can't remember who linked to it, but kids who get out of Christian private schools tend to be the ones most likely to have kids later. Part of it is faith, but part of it is the values that align in like a Christian classical education school are very much more traditional, where you're taught the basic skills. You're taught old school math and old school phonics that prepares you for college, so you feel much more comfortable going into it. And along the way, you're not also badgered with the conversations about equity and inequity and women in the workforce and stuff like that. You're just educated. You're not indoctrinated. And so those kids tend to go off to college and expect to have a more traditional family where they're going to get a job, and then they're going to get married, and they're going to have kids, as opposed to a lot of the upper income secular private school and public school kids who have all these pressures on secularism and women in the workforce and on and on and on and on and on. And at some point, they just decide not to have kids. We, frankly, at the bottom line is you're either going to have more kids in American families, or you're going to have more immigration. And a lot of Americans don't want to have any more immigrants in the country, but you're going to have a country that disappears if you don't have more immigrants or have more kids. And you have to choose, what do you want? The left wants more immigrants because they get more tax dollars from Washington. But the rest of you, what do you want? You either got to have more kids or more immigrants, because we're going to have a lot of people here who don't have kids who are going to have to be taken care of by somebody. And if you have a growing number of progressives in this country who are childless, who become senior citizens who are lonely, they're going to reshape the entirety of the federal social safety net to cater to themselves and not actually to the people with families. So pick. The National Defense Authorization Act is out, and there are increasing grumblings from Republicans about it, in large part because there are a bunch of earmarks in it, including things for an elevator repair at an opera house in New York City. They're also repealing the use of force authorization for not just the Gulf War from the 90s, but the Iraq War from the 2000s. Yeah, I didn't realize that the use of force authorization for the Gulf War was still around as well. But they're both there. They're going to be repealed in the National Defense Authorization Act. But also, interestingly enough, they're going to approve no funding in the NDAA for withdrawing American troops from Europe. The Republicans in the House and the Senate are working to restrain the president. There are also demands in the NDAA for releasing videos of the ships blown up in the Caribbean, among other things. Very fascinating, slow rolling effort by Republicans to restrain the Trump administration when it comes to their foreign policy and their ability to realign troops around the world. But it may die because the Democrats were able to strip out some of the DEI bans that Republicans had put in the military, and they put in a bunch of earmarks for things like this elevator at an opera house in New York City. But these are increasing signs. The drip, drip, drip is there that Republicans on Capitol Hill are treating Donald Trump as a lame duck. And those things are starting to shape up. That's why we are where we are. Now, I got to tell you about Swiss America before I get out of here because, by the way, I should tell you that I have gotten some actually really cool gold coins from them. They did a great job with it, and they're one of the trusted leaders of precious metals in this country and have been for 40 years. They're warning people about a secret war on cash. They would like to help you navigate the secret war on cash. You can get their report completely for free. All you do is call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That is 800-289-2646. The law of war on cash, by the way, includes digital forms of currency. The government is trying to steer you away from cash. They want you to have to use credit. They don't want you to use crypto either. So get the Secret War on Cash report for free from Swiss America, 800-289-2646. Text them Eric or just call them and tell them Eric sent you, C-R-I-C-K. You can go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric as well. Message and data rates may apply.